Vapor01, Smoke Crash TV, Whiteley, Jeremiah Black, good morning. How are you guys doing today? How is your day going so far? Let's get started. Link in the description below if you want to join the Discord. Vapor's got a fever, and the only prescription is more art, baby. 10 out of 10 dragon. And dragon person. Wood dragon person again. Alright. Today we've got to add a few maps to the game. Like not add like into the project, but link them like we were doing last time on Friday. I wanted to stream, but then we're gonna do crafting systems too. I wanted to stream the Undertale game, the new Deltarune Undertale game on it, but Toby Fox asked everybody not to for like a day or two. He wanted everyone to wait, like just let it naturally spread without trying to stream it as soon as it goes live. So I didn't want to do that, and that's why I didn't stream it. But I'm thinking maybe this Friday we'll stream Deltarune. It's already like everyone's seeing everything they need to see, right? But it looks really good. And if you don't know by now, I mean, Toby Fox, the maker of Undertale, put out a new game, absolutely free. He didn't have to do that. It's a demo. He calls it a demo. But I have a feeling that there's going to be more to it. Like, he's going to put out another part. And I haven't played it yet. I saw some people playing it. I've seen footage. So I might check out Deltarune on Friday. Depends on if I have to do first impressions or not. And what comes up. But anyway, it's been plenty of time. And Toby Fox is going to have to understand that people want to see his game. He asked people not to stream it, but that doesn't mean that they're going to listen. People were streaming it the moment it went up. You're learning JS. Awesome. That's such a good idea, Jeremiah Black. JavaScript is so cool. You can do a lot with JS. It's a good scripting language. Plus, it gets your foot in the door for learning more object-oriented, ground-level languages like C++. And if you were to draw similarities, C# is more like JS than C++, but you learn basic fundamentals in any language you learn, right? If you learn one programming language, you learn how things are like tied together, and it kind of changes your brain a little bit. I'm not going to lie, it changes the way you think about things. Everything is handled with variables and switches. Silver Starlight says, will this be the last week that I do map connections and corrections? Probably not. As long as we're adding new maps, we're going to have to connect stuff. But we're not going to do very much of that. We're going to just do a couple. There's just a couple. Right here. Nope, nope, nope. Where's it at? I need to tie together this map. Matter of fact, I'm just going to do this one map. I'm just going to incorporate this one map, and then we're going to move on to something different for a while. I'm not going to do the storyline. I'm going to keep most of the storyline to the end. I don't want that to be out there and dated. I want that to be fresh when you guys see it. Hopefully after purchasing it on Steam. Royal Crown Code, how are you doing, dude? Thanks for coming to the stream. Appreciate it, Royal. You've been working on Dragon Bones the last few days, Whiteley? That's awesome. Dragon Bones is really cool. How many frames per second do you get? Does it upload a 60 FPS like sprite sheet type thing when you use like Spine, like Dragon Bones? Are you using Spine? Or is it some other thing like Sprite or Pro or something? Blitz, how are you doing? It's good to see you, man. Welcome to the stream. But we are going to do something different, Silver. Let me get this one map connected and get my brain going, you know what I mean? My brain going with this coffee. And we'll start working on something different like crafting systems and integrating the items we made and whatnot. Maybe we'll do a story sequence for you. The reason why I don't like to put in too many storyline sequences and events yet at the beginning, because we have to see them over and over and over while we're testing, right? So it makes playtesting some parts extra work that needs to be, and then the story gets dated. It's dated. Royal says, I haven't had time to make a good art. This is a mining map. I don't know what I want to do with this, really. I mean, there's a butterfly thing here. But what I can do is take the exit event that we have. Let's give a little bit of zooming out here. Where is our exit? Here we go. Is this exit or entrance? This is entrance version. We need exit version. This is exit version. So we're going to take this event and we're going to copy it. And we're going to put it right here in this rocky cavern. We're going to put it right there. Which one is this one? This is just a regular one. Okay, so we'll get rid of this one. And what we can do is put the portal over here and start putting treasure chests around as well. Here's the first one. Let's take that. I got a fever, and the only prescription is more cowbell, baby. There's more transfer events, baby. Right there will be number 2. Number 2. Number 3 could be here. And number 4 will be over there. Should we do Johnny number 5? Let's do Johnny number 5. Right there. Did I get the edited version of Royal Crown Code's teacup for tea? I don't think so. I did get another version from, hold up. T liked one. Let me check my privates. My privates. Slide into my DMs, yo. I did get a private message from, let me scroll, the Cajun one. The Cajun one sent me one that T really liked. T really likes this one because the eyes and whatnot. So I think she wanted me to use this one, and I'm okay with using whatever one. Story event making is so strenuous, says Ahmed Fali. Wallahi. Brimstone, he's known for attacking and destroying a town. The girl he voiceovers with, do you mean? Yeah, I'm pretty sure he means UT. Although T might be making some videos, maybe, pretty soon, because IGMC stuff. It's sort of her thing. Story is the best part of game making, in her opinion, she says. The Cajun one! How you doing, man? You've got a 2.5 hour drive ahead? Oh man, I remember that. I used to live in Orange County, California, and I would have to drive about 3 hours into Imperial Valley, back and forth sometimes, to visit family. I do not envy you, Cajun one. Sorry, bro. Feels bad. I hate being in a car. I hate being in a vehicle. Statistically, it's like most likely the place I'm going to die in a vehicle, right? You thought T wanted to make videos on Spreader Pro? Maybe she does. I don't know. I don't know. Who joins the IGMC this year? We've got some really good looking games. You play RPGs for the story, but you stay for annoying super bosses. I like the story in RPGs, obviously. But it's not the only thing that makes an RPG. I have to feel like I'm taking the role. Like, it's not just reading a book, it's an interactive story that I'm taking place in, I'm taking part in. So just reading a story and having a good story is not the same to me as like when you get the ability to change how it ends up, or even if it ends the same, even if the ending is always the same, if you can change the way that the story moves with your actions, then I feel like I'm taking the role, with my actions. And hence the role in the role-playing game. The best part of making a game is installing plugins, says Fukachi. Whatever floats your boat, Puka. Yeah, so we're probably going to take this one for the teacup. Anyway. F to pay respects. Let's put our exit as a teleporter here on this platform. The teacup reminds me of Disney's Beauty and the Beast. I think that's where he drew inspiration from, and I actually asked something similar to that. I was like, think of whatever his name is, Chip from Beauty and the Beast, but make like a more, I don't know, pronouncedly feminine version of that, and more special, if you know what I mean, more special and precious. Don't fail at making Cajun ones into a face sheet. Oh, well, okay. I don't know if telling people, don't fail, is helpful, but maybe it is. Make sure you don't fail. That's constructive. Do we have to change anything on these teleport events? I think I made them pretty clear-cut, copy-paste, because I'm handling it with the common events. Right. All I have to do is make an exception for this map to be part of that pool. So let's do that in the common events. I swear we're almost done with these transfer events for now. Let's let the map pool roll up to 17. So copy this, paste this here. Edit this. And let it pick the Rocky Caverns here, face down, and select it to be when it hits 17. Do that. We have to go to the top and make sure that the random variable can actually get to 17. Can be selected. Like so. And now it can. Dum, 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 dum. Was there anything else I needed to do besides set up our controller event? So we set our battle backgrounds, the tinting of the screen, the pixie dust controller, and the lighting should be all good. Name a trope in RPGs. If you duplicate a previous answer, try again. And Ahmed starts it with sword. Is swords a trope? I don't think swords are a trope. I mean, swords are just like universally awesome, right? And a lot of games are based around a medieval time or like fantasy genre. So I don't think it could be like simple as one word. Wizards, says Silver. Are wizards a trope? Orcs? I don't know. I think you guys are going down. Are they tropes though? Knights. Tropes. A trope is like the person you start with betrays the hero. Like a party member will betray the hero. That's a trope, right? Or you have to save the princess. That's a trope. But just saying like swords or wizards, I don't know if that counts as a trope. Or like, here's a trope. The big bad boss is actually not the last boss. It's the big bad's boss henchman, one of like the side guy, the jester. is usually like the end boss, right? Not the big evil emperor, but his like jester is usually the bad guy, the last final boss. That's a trope. Or like crystals of light, that's a trope, using crystals of light. Or the 4 minions, like that's a trope. I don't know if just saying swords works, but maybe. Kefka, also in Chrono Trigger, right? I mean, as Chrono Trigger, you have Lavos as the big bad boss. So I don't know about that one. The hero dies and comes back to life. Yeah, that's one that happens in a lot of things. If you think about Final Fantasy X, spoiler alert, king, spoiler alert, Final Fantasy X. I mean, Tidus is dead. Tidus. I've heard it pronounced both ways. He's dead the entire time. He's not alive. He's dead the entire time. It's like the plot to The Sixth Sense. Is that too soon? Is the spoiler on Sixth Sense too soon? Okay, I think we're done with this transfer event thing. Let's move on to adding some more recipes to our crafting system. And maybe create a custom one. I don't know. Let's do a custom crafting system. Custom smaller crafting systems. Because we have the tinkering system, which is using Yanfly's item synthesis menu, which is very fantastic. Great way to make a crafting system work in your game. The villain is the hero's sibling or half-sibling. Yeah. Final Fantasy IV does that. Golbez is Cecil's brother. The girl in the romantic arc is usually a princess of some kind. There's one. The player controls a group of good heroes, which is boring to you, Ahmed. You want to play as villains? I got a game for you. It's called Evil Quest. Play Evil Quest. You play. It's like a Nintendo. It's a remake. It's a PC remake of. Have you ever played Crystalis for NES? It's a fantastic game. I mean, it's for Nintendo, right? So you have to get past all those barriers. But if you can accept that. It's a remake of Crystalis from the NES era onto PC, and it's a similar play style, and it's a really, really good remake of that sort of feel. But Crystalis is you play the hero, and you have to save the world, and blah, blah, blah. But in Evil Quest, you play the villain. It's a fantastic game. I played it on the channel when my channel was first starting. I think I had like 30 subs, maybe 40 subs. And I was playing Evil Quest, and yeah, it got like 12 views per episode. I was like, yo, somebody's watching this. Somebody wants to see it. Nobody wants to see it. Nobody wants to see it. I wouldn't recommend trying to stream it, but play it if you like it, you know. So I stopped streaming it. Right, I wasn't actually live streaming it. I was just recording myself. But anyway. Let's go to where we have our synthesis. So to make an item available, we have to give it a note tag, synthesis ingredients, and then write down the item, colon, and the number of the item that we need it to require in order for it to be crafted using the system. But that's not all. You also need an item. Where did I put it? Did I move it around? I may have moved it around. I'm looking for the Tinkerer's Kit or something like that. That I give the player when you rescue Devin. Because the player will need an item. You can now use equipment as well to learn to craft things. Chest of picks. Oh, I moved it to all the way out of the way, that's right. Tinkerer's Kit. You have to include a note tag called item recipe, and then you unlock those recipes right here. So if the player has the Tinkerer's kit, then it's going to be able to, the player will be able to make item number 23, 25, 26, 28, and also crafting armors. You can see that the Tinkerer can also make some armors here. So let's go ahead and update some items and let them become crafted using the synthesis system, and maybe after that add a custom mini crafting system for like processing food into something else, or I don't know. One of your party members is a non-human. The villain is the previous hero turned evil due to betrayal. Those are some tropes. Sad fact, many people do not know photosynthesis. Yeah, probably. It's how plants make energy. They turn light and carbohydrates into energy. Overlord, that's right, Alexander Burkle. You play the enemy in Overlord. A silent protagonist. Your main character is often called the Chosen One or the One. That's a trope. Or you're supposed to save the world. That's a trope too. Having to say, I mean, you don't need to make it super epic to have a good RPG. It could be the story of about like somebody lost in the woods and trying to find their way out, and then they found their way out. Or it would be kind of tropey if you go in to rescue somebody, you know what I mean? But it could be like something humanizing the main character with flaws, because flaws are interesting. When somebody's perfect, it's very boring. So the flaws are what's really interesting. So if you want to make a good character, figure out what their flaws are and what they really want. Try to figure out what this character really wants, and then that'll help you decide the way he would act or she would act in certain situations. Because if you think about what's this player actually want, what's their motive here, then you can kind of gauge, well, they wouldn't say that because they're not trying to do that. They're trying to get this instead. Alexander says, one of your characters, normally the main character, gets a convenient power-up at the midpoint of the story. Yeah. People like to... that's normal. Now, I don't know if that's a trope. That's maybe a requirement, because feeling a sense of progression in any role-playing game is sort of necessary to keep the player invested. Unless the story is just so good, that doesn't matter. But I think a good challenge in a game is, are you able to make the player lose power as they go farther in the game? Like, start them as the all-powerful... We'll go with Ahmed's idea. Start your character, your story, as the all-powerful, emperor, right? And you control the kingdom, and you have troops, and you control the general, and you're super strong. But as the story progresses, you lose your army, and you lose your kingdom, and you become a vagabond, and you actually go down in level to where you've lost your fighting prowess, you've lost your magic swords and your weapons and your lance that was like an heirloom and is super powerful. And that would be an interesting spin on a game, right? You start as the evil emperor, and then as the game progresses to the end, you're very, very lowly, and maybe the moral is the character will learn humility through it all, right? So it could be a really good idea, a game idea right there. Starting as the big bad and ending as the very powerful, insignificant person. I don't know if that would work, because psychologically players want progress. Players want to get sense of progression and empowerment. So constantly stripping the power away, it will just lead into frustration, but it can lead for compelling. If not extremely fun, because it will be frustrating, compelling. It doesn't have, you know, a game doesn't have to be fun. You think, oh, it's a video game, it should be fun. Not necessarily. Is the game compelling? Do you want to play it to see what happens? Do you want to play it to get to the next part? Do you just have to finish it? Are you compelled to finish it, or can keep playing it at least? If so, then it's a success, even if it's frustrating and not fun. I think that's overlooked a lot. It's a game, it should be fun. Most of the time, right? Most of the time, but not necessarily. I think I should methodically go from the list and work my way down, and otherwise I'll be off track. But I love our conversations. This is fantastic. Iron ingot we're crafting with an NPC, so I don't want this to be in the system. Ripe orange and fresh apple. I sort of need to make a decision, honestly. I should decide what is going to be in the custom crafting system and what is going to be in the item synthesis. Should I let the player just get a new item to cook foods? I think that's the most simple way to do it, right? Let's make a item synthesis for the cooking system. It's very straightforward. But then for something more in-depth, like an enchanting system or even like a potion mixing system, we'll handcraft it. It'll be less deep, right? It'll be more shallow because it will have less layers of complexity, but it will be more customized so that it's not, well, is that the right way to think about it? It'll be smaller. It will have more depth. Come on, brain. Where's my coffee? I need more coffee. A custom system will be more in-depth, be more complex, but it will be more limited in that it has fewer options. If you do a crafting system using a plugin, you could have 100 crafting recipes and they all follow the same format. You have the items, you press the button, you get the thing. But if you want to handcraft a system, you have to do the checks for these items in conditionals. You have to do what happens if this happens, if the player has this but not that. So you have lots of conditionals and branching statements. So you can have very, very complex things happen if they have the right things line up, but probably less broad of a spectrum when you custom craft your entire system. So I want to do both, obviously. I want to have a system where you have lots of recipes and you can kind of like, you get 2 of these, you make this thing, and then that thing becomes an ingredient for something else. And 3 of those and 1 of these becomes this new thing. And very simple, straightforward, through a menu. Very, very nice. But I also want this system to where you can take an item and do things to that item, like put fire damage on it, without requiring to socket something onto it. Like, when you enchant something, there's a chance that you completely disintegrate the item. And the sword you've been working on, or the armor you've been working on, just blasts into infinity, into a million pieces, and you completely lose all your progress. Because that gets like a Skinner box effect, right? You want great power, but great power comes with, obviously, great responsibility, because you can blow up all your stuff, and then you're left with nothing. So if you want to risk it for the biscuit, you can. I'll be over here. If I do fail at making Cajun's teacup into a face graphic shoot array, I think I'll be fine. But I appreciate that offer, Royal. I know you can handle that like nothing, so that's really cool. Okay, Zayman, you think you missed too much? We've just begun, my friend. We've just begun. Oh, I need to mention about the daylight savings time. In New York, we have daylight savings time. I know some people watch from Germany and other countries. So time changes by an hour sometimes to make it so that it's light when kids are walking to school and whatnot. So right now it is 10:33 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I stream 10 to noon Eastern Standard Time Monday through Friday. So you may have been used to an hour different schedule, like last week, the time was different, right? I don't know, we went back an hour, so it may seem like it's 11 o'clock to 1, but it's not. It's really daylight savings times went back an hour, 10 a.m. to noon Eastern Standard Time using daylight savings time. So we started on time today, not an hour late. We started a few minutes early. It says, Drifty, you played Homework Salesman? Like an Altier game? A girl crafts, cooks, barters, fights monsters, and restores the barren village? I don't think I played Homework Salesman. But Atelier has some RPGs that are interesting. Starlight says, let the player get items for the cooking system, and for the enchanting system, use the items that are dropped, like the wings, eyes, fangs. I really like that idea, Silver. I do. Because you have to go and to get stronger in battle, you have to go to the chests and fight the enemies in battle. So it makes sense, whatever you're working on is what's going to progress. It wouldn't make sense to do a bunch of farming and then that gives you like the best sword, right? And I totally agree with that idea, Silver. You can raise each other from death unless it's plot demanded that a character... Wait, where did it go? A character dies. You could also make certain gemstones enchanted items, like a Wizard 101 when the gemstones shatter after removing the enchanted stone. Yeah. That's why most games use knockout instead of death, says Smoke Crash TV. That's true. Time is out of whack. A bad sign. Yeah, daylight savings time can confuse people. Anyway, so let's make the cooking system part of Yanfly's item synthesis plugin. Easy. Easy peasy. What should we make with fresh apples? Well, let's let the player process them into apple sauce. I think that's a great idea. We should turn these into apple sauce. And the apple sauce will take 2 apples and turn it into 1 apple sauce. So let's go ahead and just copy fresh apple. Paste it down here. And we're going to call this apple sauce. Can be used... Let's see. It can be eaten to restore your HP. Let's make applesauce be the cumulative effect of both of those apples, right? An apple will give you 25% of your HP, but the applesauce will give you 50% of your HP plus something else, right? Maybe a little buff. An apple a day gives a buff for your endurance. It's going to give you an endurance buff, so applesauce, really good for you. We actually, instead of doing it this way with like default buff, let's make a state similar to the well-fed thing. Shouldn't we? I think we should. It'll give us well-fed applesauce. So we can copy this, paste this, well-fed applesauce. Raw carrots, raw potatoes, raw strawberries, raw cabbage, and this will be applesauce. What are we using for the apple icon? We're using this probably. Well-fed applesauce. The apple itself won't give you the state. It'll just give you a little bit of HP. But applesauce will give you something. We can make it give critical evasion. Is that what it already does for another thing? It is. Let's make applesauce give you a 5% chance to counterattack. Boy, quit playing. And it'll give us we'll just go parameter. I think a parameter would be good. A little bit of a 10%, because counterattack's super strong. So it'll give us 10% defense bonus, 5% chance to counterattack, and HP regen 1%. I like that. That's good. So let's make an icon for, well, actually let's select an icon for counterattack and whatnot. Applesauce. Not at the alchemy lab, at the cooking station. Can be used. This, when consumed, this will provide HP plus 50%. We can take this icon here. It's good to let the player know in descriptions what your items do. It's very important to inform your player of what's happening. So spend some time adding icons to your descriptions and informing them very well. When consumed, this will provide HP plus 50% as well. Well, we can put commas. Let's actually make it do that. Increase, we can shorthand all this as well. Endurance, which is our defense, plus 10%. Counter, plus 5%. Let's give an icon for these things as well. For endurance, we're going to use the shield here. Very, very easy. 35. Icon 35. I kind of want to change those, to be honest, because I see them in so many games, really. Maybe craft an apple wand or an apple helmet. An apple band. That's interesting. Never thought of using the food to create. You know what we could do? Something like that. But it would require other things later on. And it would require like 20 apples. And call it a apple core chest piece or something like that. Core armor. Resistance to poison. I changed my mind. I want this to give resistance to poison. That makes the most sense. Apples, applesauce, apple pie, apple cider. Drifty, do you know where the info to change the amount of states displayed is in the battle window? What do you mean, the amount of states? You mean like in battle, the number of icons that you see? Yeah, I know. I can get you that real quick. If you use Yanfly's Battle Engine Core, it's easy. You go to, yep, Battle Engine Core, and you go down into the parameters. It may be in another plugin, but I believe it's here. Let's see. Pop-up duration, sprites. Okay, maybe it's not in this plugin. Is it in Core Engine? Gold, items, parameters, battle, somewhere that's going to show states. Maybe it's in skill core. HP, MP, TP, general. You would think it would be somewhere very simple on the parameters. Where it shows the number of states. Maybe buff states core. The number of times you can stack or a buff or debuff, okay, and the maximum limit. The buff formula, buff rates, reapply rules. This is something that I like to change sometimes. If you have like a state that's got 5 turns and it's like it's only got 1 turn left and you recast it, what should happen? Should it do nothing because you still have 1 turn to that state? Should it set it back to 5 or should it add to it? Usually I would reset it back to 5, but every now and then I play with the idea of letting players stack their states. So let's change this to add and see what happens. It's probably a bad idea in most cases, because if you can use things that give you states outside of combat, you could eat like 20 apples. And then you have like 200 rounds of well-fed. It doesn't really make super sense, so I mean, I kind of just put it on reset. Show enemy turns. It should be in here somewhere, actually. Enemy icons, enemy buffs. Buff color, state color, alignment, font size, show turns. Interesting question. Smoke crash. Because I thought that would be very visible. A golden apple would grant you temporary invincibility for a few rounds. It's so rare, yeah. We can do a million things in Apple Watch. Get out of here, Vapor. Just kidding. Don't go. Don't go. I love you. Increased luck or speed would make sense too. Simple parameter changes. Charazanico, how are you doing? Have a limit to stat buff stacking. Yeah, that's what reset will do. So it's the limit is how many rounds that they're set up in the states. So even if you ate 20 apples, you'd still only have 10 rounds of well-fed. We are looking for where the setting is, the parameter to change, to change how many states are shown, right? I know in the shop core, there's something like that. Shop menu core. Right here, the maximum number of icons drawn for states and buff. So I'm going to set that to 8. But I don't think this affects the battles or other things as well. This is just for when you're looking at the items in the store. Item core. Maximum icons, maximum number of icons drawn for states and buffs. Let's change that to 8 as well. So that's 2 places that we've changed it. Question, is it possible to make a buff last a number of battles? Probably, Alexander. I think so. if you use Yanfly's buff states core and you use lunatic mode to use a variable, and you set that variable to a set amount, calling a common event when you use the item, and then at the end of battle, when that state is removed, it instead changes, like make the state, you need two states. You need one that would remove at the end of battle, that would be hidden even, and it would tick down. You would have another state that's the actual state with all the stats that would only be available if that variable is at 5. So on the removal of the second invisible state, the removal things is at the end of combat, and when it's removed, it has a custom execution that that lowers the variable. You set its value to itself -1, and unless it's 0, which then you set it to 0. So you just do a handler for that. But you would make that state remove at the end of combat. It would toggle the variable down from 5 to 4, and then the other state that the player would have would just be there as long as the variable was not 0, or greater than equal than 0. So you would need two states, but it is very possible using buff states core. I wonder if any of the games submitted so far in the IGMC are captivating. I saw, I don't know if I'm supposed to say anything about it, but I'll just give some hints. It's an Egyptian-themed game, and it looks pretty cool. It looks pretty cool, man. Well, you can do that, Alexander. Yeah. Nice job, Silver. We inevitably have to do that every day. Learn something new. Otherwise, we're going to be flopping around like a fish out of water. Heartless! Yes, thank you so much. Everything is sorted now. When I make a new system, do I make a sketch of something before I begin on the system? Yeah. I try to figure out, I basically tell myself, how do I want to do this, really? Because there's several ways to tackle any idea. Like, for example, let's take case in point today. There's crafting systems we're trying to mess with. Of course, there's a lot of distractions. But I'm thinking, how do I want to do this? And I've come to the conclusion early on, before I did anything, I want to use two different methods. I want to use Yanfly's item synthesis plugin because it's fantastic and it makes a lot of things easy, and it lets me be very broad with the number of things that I can do. But I also want to be very deep on one specific thing, like blowing up items and enchanting the items to make them stronger, like your armor pieces or custom weapons. So I have to custom build that from the ground up. So I'm going to use a plugin for the majority of the crafting recipes, but for a select few items, I'm going to custom build one using event processes. And then I go further with that, right? How do you say your name? Kochi? Kokske? Kochke? Spell it phonetically if you can. Or I can keep butchering it, it's fine. I would go further with that idea, which we're going to. If I can just finish one thing here. So we have our applesauce. It's going to give us 50% of our HP, but we also wanted to do, this is just an instant recover. It's going to add a state. We're going to give it the add state of the new well-fed applesauce, which is a copy of all the other well-feds, but it does different things. It'll last. You know what I'm thinking of doing is all of the raw foods are only going to last 5 turns because they're not processed foods. We're trying to incentivize the player from using away from using raw foods, eating them raw, and processing them using the systems that we're incorporating. So cooked foods, processed foods will last twice as long as their raw counterparts, as well as doing more. It makes sense to me. If you need it, Ramza built a synthesis category plugin that you don't open all recipes. Works great if you want to have an alchemist, a weaponsmith, an armorsmith. Oh, cool. Maybe I could do something like that, yeah. Good suggestion, Alexander. Devin Scott! Yo! What's up, dude? How are you doing? How's your day going? This is going to, instead of counterattack, it makes more sense that we resist state. We add a state rate, not resist, but it's going to make it harder to be poisoned. So we're going to get 50% poison resist. Do we have that already in something? Nah, no, we don't. Blind, Charm, Berserk, Silence. Now we have poison. That makes the most sense to me. You eat your applesauce, you're going to be 50% chance to resist poison. So let's go ahead and change this to /IT, which is going to show the state for number 5, which is poison. And it'll say poison resist plus 50%, comma, and we can actually remove this last part, right? Can also be eaten, blah, blah, blah. That was from the other thing. So when consumed, this will provide 50% HP, endurance plus 10%, comma, poison resist plus 50%, and /icon 32 HP regen plus 1%. Or we can make it 2% because it's doubling the power, right? So it makes it stronger even. Not only does one item go from 25% and 1%, two of them goes into 50% and 2%, but what we can do to make it so that the player has more to do with their apples and requires more apples is we could require 3 apples to do the effects of doubling the potency, which I think it's pretty smart because the player is going to want the strongest items, even though it's less potent. Even though the items are less efficient, right? Because you would get the same benefits. One lasts 5 rounds, and it gives you. Wait, no, because we're doubling it and we're doubling the duration. So it's actually the effects of 4 apples, but it's only going to cost 3. 4 apples over the course of using 2, and then they wear off using 2 again, and then they wear off. Makes sense. Yeah, we'll do that. And we'll make it require 3, so there's even more incentive to do the crafting. So if apples themselves cost 50, is that what I made them cost? Fresh apple costs 50. And 3 of them will be the applesauce. We want to give the player incentive to upgrade them. So this is a more valuable, more powerful item. So the player would invest 150 coins, but the value of the item they would receive is 250. We don't want to make that too high so the player can't flip them to make a huge profit. If they try to sell this, they sell it at half price, they get 125 back. So making them, buying them, crafting them, and selling them right back to the vendor, which is a boring task and it shouldn't be incentivized, would actually net them a loss of 25 coins. So I think 250 is a brilliant price for this, and we'll continue with that pattern. Drifty Wino stream yesterday, it was sad. Well, I had somebody in California, probably the same guy or some internet company, in California, Arizona, and Texas, making fraudulent charges on my credit card. So I had to call my banks when I woke up, I check my statement, do my bills and all that stuff right before I do stuff. And I saw that, so I had to do that. When you see fraudulent charges, you got to drop what you're doing. Handle that as soon as you can. When you see somebody messing with your money, you deal with what's messing with your money. So I had to do that. And the bank already knew about it. They already know who did it. And 5 out of the 6 things had already been refunded. So one of the things had been refunded. Somebody, they didn't have my cards. I still had my card. Somebody was putting in the numbers. They got it probably from something online. I don't know. It's so easy to, like, it's so easy to be tracked and get your information stolen. It's very easy. Who knows, Heartless? Who knows? It's hard to say. Just make sure that all the tabs you have open are using SSL encryption, and I mean, it's really impossible to stop somebody from doing it if they want it bad enough, and if you're a big enough target. They messed up because, you know, I ain't rolling in the dough. You know, they picked the wrong target. They really didn't get anything from me, except maybe some of my time. And they'll pay for that, probably. Devin, you work for a bank and credit card company? Yep, that's what happened. Yeah, everything's good. Everything's good. This isn't the first time this happened. This has happened 3 or 4 times in my life. And it'll probably happen again. I mean, that's just... If you catch it quick enough, it's not a big deal. You definitely got to keep an eye on your finances. Try to be fiscally responsible. Jardork, how are you doing? The good thing about this is we can use the same state animation as that we already have, so we don't have to worry about animations for it. We can give a custom animation, but I think it would be fine if we just use the Apple one we already created, because we're gonna have to do quite a few. So we'll do well-fed animation for all of these well-fed status buffs, and if we want to customize further, we can. But you know, we'll go. This is already custom. Drifting, are you going to add the arrow ammo you helped with last time in your game? No, that was for somebody's, I was fielding questions. That was to help Royal with his problem. We got the code. I'm not going to use that system in my game, but I just wanted to, I figured it out so that, or I helped you guys figure it out or whatever. I have to go to the bathroom. I'm going to try to run an ad. Will it play an ad? I don't know. I'll be right back. I love you guys very much. Please don't go away. I don't think it's going to play an ad. Welcome to Denny's, everybody. If no ad will play, I'll make an ad. You could hear it. You could hear repeat. Hey, I'm being honest with you, Silver. I want you guys to know. that I'm not just trying to force you to watch an ad. I could bring the volume down on the mic if that bothers you. Does that bother you, Silver? Okay. I definitely don't mute the mic, because last time I muted the mic and then brought it back on the same live stream, I sounded like a robot. Everyone's like, what are you saying, Drifty? Holy crap, your audio quality went down. Okay, we won't do the mute in the middle of a stream and unmute, play around with mutes. We'll just bring the volumes down. So I could bring the volume down and mute it technically, but not click the mute button. We just had to give you a hard time. It's all good. Alright, once we get this system set up here, we just kind of copy paste for the orange juice. We'll make the orange juice. The apple sauce. Nice. Adds that animation. Okay, let's copy paste this. We need to, actually before we copy paste it, let's do the item synthesis requirement, right? Taking a look at another item that's already in the synthesis menu thingy. If you wanted to craft, let's see. That would work. Let's take this. Well, actually look at the level 1 keystone is what I call it, yeah. Because this gives more information. So to make an item work in the Anfly's item synthesis, you just have to put these node tags on it, and then you put in what it requires. We are going to let this be sellable. It shouldn't net the player any real profit making and doing it, but we're going to let the player do it anyway if they want to. Who's excited for RPG Maker on console? Sheepy cheap. I don't know. We're going to make this require apple. Three. I think that's all it needs. It'll require 3 apples. We will need an item that lets the player know all of these cooking recipes. Or, I have another idea. We could require the player go to the cooking station and call the crafting menu with a common event. Or no, not a common event. Well, yeah, I mean, we could do that. But a plugin command is what I meant to say. Okay, so we'll copy this. Boom, we'll call this one orange juice. Give this one an icon for the orange juice. We have plenty of icons for this. We'll use one of these bottles. This icon is brought to us by Yanfly. It is resized VX Ace icons. And recolored. Schmashtic. This one will require... Oh wait, they're not actually called apples. They're called fresh apple. Right. Fresh apple. Verbatim. And ripe orange will be the next one. Fresh apple 3. And this one, ripe orange 3. Do 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 do. For the orange, we got to make a new state. It's going to give us MP plus 30%. orange juice. I may need to update the descriptions on the other foods as well, because I think I let the player know that they're for 10 turns. It adds that, it actually doesn't show the duration on the item, which is fine, because if you use the item, you'll see how long it lasts. That's good. This is actually 30%. And we'll change the thing that it resists and the stats as well. So let's change the state for this. So instead of resisting poison, we can resist silence. And add a bonus to, you would think magic defense, but I'm not using magic defense for anything in the game, which is why I need to remove the armor scaling, because that kind of defaults into using defense and magic defense according to what I say. Is it a skill? I mean, is it a physical attack or magical attack? When you say magical attack, it's going to look at your magic defense. I'm renaming that. So over the weekend, I was thinking about it. I'm like, oh yeah, I can't really use armor scaling the way that I originally intended, because I'm not using magic defense at all, but I'm still using magic attacks. So I have to disable that plugin. I may have already done that, and basically write in my own negative. It becomes very easy to mess up your damage formulas and make skills too strong or too weak without scaling. Autism Boy's eating some cornflakes. Oh my god. Cereal's the devil, yo. Enjoy your cornflakes. Heartless says, I'll finish my game on MV if a new version of RPG Maker comes out. Check it out. Yeah, I might check it. I don't think so. Like, I have all of the PC version of RPG Maker, but I didn't get like the PlayStation version of RPG Maker, and I didn't get the handheld. What is it, Fez? I didn't get that because I don't own a Switch, so that's a thing. So what we'll do instead is we'll make it agility, which is speed. You'll get a speed bonus, 10% speed bonus. And the HP regeneration will become a MP regeneration. And that'll go up 2%. Yeah. Gotta make applesauce have that 2% as advertised. For 10 turns. 10 turns! And update the item description on the OJ. Not endurance, but instead speed. SPD, aka agility. Speed of mind. Speed of hand. Speed of mind. We'll use 38 for that. Sheepy says, I'll finish my game even if it takes me another 2 years. That's the spirit. Follow your dreams, Chiefy. Make that dream project happen for you. No matter how long it takes you. You can do it. Let me find that clip of Shia LaBeouf. If it has a new code system you'll pass, they're going to stay with JS. I mean, at least in the near future. I predict the next PC version of RPG Maker to follow something in JS. I could be wrong, but I would. Like, why would they change it at this point? They just rewrote it. It'd be so easy for them to copy paste the software, give it a different title, and that's sad. And I hope that doesn't happen. But come on, they got to make money, and it would be much easier to, you know, update it and make a new version of it using the same code. I think it's written in C++ though, isn't it? Isn't it written in C++ and then it uses JS for plugins and whatnot? Like the actual executable. Just do it! That's the one. That's the one, Heartless. Someday Driftwood will make a first impressions of my game. Yeah. When it's ready. When it's ready, right? You want people to look at it when it's ready. What's the specific term of losing grip? You guys are probably faster than Google. What do you mean losing grip? Slipping? Letting something slip by? The one term for losing grip? I don't know. But by then, his name will be Drift Shipwreck Gaming. So much driftwood accumulated. It'll be like this scene in Final Fantasy V after you fight that one ocean boss. You open the gate and you fight that one boss at the beginning of Final Fantasy V. You're just like in a giant shipyard that's been like, just boats are smashed into each other. So much driftwood. Every day, Dad, I need you to do something. God! Omni Slash. Oh man, how are you today, Omni? We all have responsibilities, don't we? Obligations, if you will, that we have to do. If not to other people, to ourselves, right? We have these mortal boundaries we have to follow. We have to eat. We have to go to the bathroom. We have to do these things that take away our time, our important time, doing other things. That's good to hear. I'm glad you're doing okay, Omni. We should probably keep the price of the orange the same, as investing in the tree that produces the raw material for this is the same price, so, and it's on the same countdown, the same timer, so we'll keep the same prices and whatnot. This looks like it's set up. Let's incorporate this with a food processing station. So instead of just putting it into the system like, do we have to give it a category? The Tinkerer's Kit, it's going to give us the item recipe. But if we want the player to have that in the menu, we can. But maybe we want to have the player's house call a common event that just does a plugin command. Like when the player goes over here, you know, this is where the player can process stuff. And we can have both of these call the same common event. You converted to 1.52 since 1.1 makes your game run slow, even a new game. That's interesting. Yeah, it depends on the plugins you're using and incompatibility issues. A lot of people still use 1.5 and swear it's the best version. I, on the other hand, use 1.6.1, but I don't swear it's the best version. It's really debatable, and it's situational. Depending on the version of the plugins you're using, 1.5 could be better, but if you're using all up-to-date Yanfly plugins and not a lot of older plugins, 1.6 may be better, so it really depends. Also consider dropping your resolution if you're using like a I used to use 1280 by 720, but you get some frame loss when you run across the screen at full speed. I'm using a slightly smaller resolution now, and I like it a little bit better. It just does look a little bit better. I'm using 1104 by 624. Try that resolution. If you're not too late into your game development, obviously changing your resolution late game is just like a no-go. It's really hard. At that point, instead of changing your resolution, you really want to use camera plugins or just camera zoom. There's actually code that's not in the... I don't know why they didn't include, like, there's built-in functions that handle the camera, but they didn't put it inside there. Why? Why did they not do that? Why do this? You know, you could have a tab 4 with more stuff. You know, built-in things that were already designed. So you can just zoom in your camera. Let me... The zoom scale of the game screen. Setting the scale here. Right, you know, it's defined. Oops, I don't want to save changes. Whole screen with zoom. Wah ha 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 ha. Like, who put this in? You know, who coded that? Was that a change I did? I don't think so. Let's see all the library that... So we have clear zoom. So we're going to be using this method. Clear zoom on the camera. Game screen. So we would use game screen dot prototype dot clear, and it would do all of these things. We'll be using this method, and it would call on these other methods if we clear. So when we initialize, it clears the screen, which does all of these things, and now all of these things are defined right down here. But we have a zoom somewhere in here. We can do all of these things that are not in the like, there's no button for all of these. Why not? Why is there no button for zoom X and zoom Y and zoom scale? We could use a zoom plugin too. It would be much easier to use a zoom plugin, but you don't have to. You can just do some script calls. I mess with this in Legend of Driftwood. Available at driftwoodgaming.com/games if you want to download it for free. You can press a button on the number pad to zoom in the camera and zoom out the camera, like on the fly. But you don't have to let the player do that. You can just set the zoom scale on your own and decide, okay, on this map, I want the players to be zoomed in. When they do a transfer ban, I want a little event that zooms in the camera, zooms out the camera, something like that. Does Yanfly have a zoom plugin? I forgot which one I used. Let me go to yanfly.mo. Let's just do a search for... Nope, I used a different plugin for zooming. Yeah, it sucks for a lot of the plugin developers, you know. Every time they change the version of Pixie, not necessarily every time they update Pixie, but every time the core of RPG Maker MV gets updated with an update from Pixie, all of the plugins are at risk of becoming incompatible, especially when they start removing functions or renaming them. If we wanted to manually put in a script call to Zoom, I think we could just go gamescreen.prototype.zoomx. Or maybe we put like gamescene.zoomx, you know, equals a number. Let's brick the game a little bit. Let me close this. I'm going to come back to this, but I want to mess around a little bit. So in this event, actually let's go back to Jeff. When we talk to Jeff, do we use game scene or scene map? I haven't done this. Game scene map, scene manager, and then map. Let me look at a reference. This is a good one. I've linked it in chat a bunch. Game screen dot start zoom. Okay, so there's a method start zoom, and then you pass it in an X or Y zoom, and then how long it takes. Or you can set the zoom right here and clear the zoom. Do move events have the zoom function built into it? Is that where it comes from? Game screen dot start zoom X Y zoom wait. Let's just put it on. Wait, is player defined? Let's just give it an arbitrary number. Can we use this? This? Probably not. Zoom 2. Wait, I don't know, 10? Is that in milliseconds? It's probably in frames. It won't know what it's calling. Maybe this is referring to this thing. Let's give it an arbitrary value first. Like, let's say, we know our resolution 1104 by 624, so let's say in the middle or something like that. We'll just say 500 by 300. Just zoom it. Just do something, right? Start a zoom, do a zoom, and then let's see what happens. So it zoomed, right? It zoomed exactly where we wanted it, or where we told it to. And now the camera zoomed. So if we go with this method, you're going to improve your frame rate if you have issues with frame rates. You just kind of set it as an auto run event. Sorry, let's get off of this. And we can have a parallel process that can follow the player, right? Because we're doing a player tracker. So we can reference those variables as a parallel process. So we can zoom on the player using our own events without a plugin at all. You will need a player tracker, which I've gone over several times. T has a tutorial on it as well. And we're controlling a variable we're setting to, we're calling it player X, and we're setting to the map X of the player Y is set to the map Y of the player. We're also checking the player's map ID and the region ID, but all we're going to be referencing in this little system is variable 12 and 13, which is arbitrary, you use any number you want, and we're checking the map X and Y of the player. So we're going to reference game variables value 12 and 13. So in here, we're going to use set zoom, and all we need is X, Y in the zoom, and we don't give it a duration because we're just setting the zoom every frame. So we're going to say variable X equals game variables, dot value of whatever's in 12, because it'll update automatically as the comment event runs. Variable Y is $ game variables dot value 13. And we're using a double zoom, so we're zooming into 2. We can say 1.5, we'll do that first. And right here, we're going to say X and Y, because we've defined those variables. We've already said X is this, and Y is this, and then set the zoom to that, to this location with this magnification. Now all we have to do is custom camera. All we really have to do is set this to a parallel process and give it a switch to start. So we'll go ahead and do 71 and say custom camera. Now this switch has to be turned on at some point to enable it. Also, the tracker has to be turned on at some point, right? This player tracker, which turns on at the beginning of the game using player tracker. We're turning player tracker on, and then it runs this constantly to check the variables of the player to keep track of the player. We check that we run that at the beginning of the game, but we're going to start it here as well, just because I don't want to go through the intro scene when we don't actually have to. So we'll control a couple of switches. We're going to say player track custom camera switch turns on, but first we need to not show text, turn on the player tracker. So we're going to turn on the player tracker and the custom camera when we talk to Jeff, and then the camera should follow the player. And we don't actually have to make this an action event. We make this an auto run at the beginning of the game when we initialize everything. So our camera is like this, right? And it tracks the player as it should, but we can control the camera to a certain extent. This is not exactly the way I thought it would go. It is moving it. Oh, wait. Player tracker's on, is checking those variables. And we're setting the zoom as a parallel. Let's set this to a more noticeable zoom. And once those switches turn on, these should happen automatically. And it should just track the player. Probably missing something basic. Oh, we need to add a buffer. Because it's not centering the camera on that location, is it? We may have to add a value to it. What is this will be a different number depending on the size of your resolution and how much you want to add to it. Drifty, do I need a zoom plugin? No. I just want to mess around with GameScreen.setSum. My productivity suffers sometimes because of my curiosity. Let's say X plus game screen, maybe, divided by 2. Or, you know what we could do? Keep X here. And just change this. So X is this value divided by the game screen. Wait, that would just set it to 1, wouldn't it? No. Games divided by game screen? I don't know what'll happen, but now I'm very curious. Can we just reference game screen like that? I think we need box width, box height, something like that. Let's see if we can just find box height. Huh. You know where I could look? Dun, 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 dun. Box width, box height, something like that. Looking for syntax. Oh, the value plus the box width. Something to do with the box width. I'm trying to find the equation. Graphics dot box width. This is a code. All right. Let's switch this. Divided by graphics dot box width. And then I would imagine box height is a thing. I don't know what that's going to do. I just want to mess around with it. Nothing. Does it give us any errors? Is it crashing for us? Yeah. Uh-huh. It's just spitting. I'm like, error, 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 error. What is this? Oh, shoot. I see it. I see the problem. Crap. Crap. It's like, what are you saying? I mean, this is probably still wrong, but it definitely was wrong without the division symbol. There, it did something, right? Why does it not move the camera when I go this direction? It's just a math error. Like, it should follow the player, right? The zoom should follow the player. I need to be on a bigger map. That's the thing. Jeff, I hope you're ready to go for an experience here. Jeff? We need to be on a big map. The town will work. Let's just, let's put the player on the map here. Jeff, you're now part of the town map. The player is also going to be right here. And let's just do that from here. Right. There's some problem with the camera still. Divided by box width. We need to add more to the zoom to the X and the Y. We need to somehow, some way, add more. Game variables dot value of the player's X is this dot X and Y tracking the tile the player is on? Set zoom. Hold on. But then it won't change, right? It won't change at all. How is it going to know where the player's at? We have to say plus. It will do the division first. Because of order of operations. So I don't need to encapsulate. Ooh, it's very Y. Very Y. Let's see what happens now. Did we do it? It doesn't go to the borders of the maps. It will not go to the borders of the maps. If you're anywhere inside the map, it will go, but it will not show the borders of the maps. It'll let you walk off of the borders and off the screen and possibly get stuck because you can't see where you're going. But hopefully this illustrates that you can make your own custom camera without a plugin. You just need to write the right code. And you can significantly improve your frame rate with your own custom camera. It may even change your art style a bit. Let's see how it handles entering and exiting combat. Those switches are still on, so it's still, yeah, it should still be setting the... Here's an idea. What if we were to use this code? I'm sure there's better code, but even if this was the final code, you could design your maps in a way that had a border. You know, you could have a... What if you gave your maps a larger border? Say like, I don't know, 5 tiles or so. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 or 6, let's say 6 tiles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We need something to indicate the edge of the map though. So let's go like this. I'm going to put these on the corners just to show. And then also, because you'll get lost, you need markers on the map when you're walking across a map like this. We got to get Jeff over here too. So we got our zoom. You see how we can get to the edge of this, but because we blocked it off, the player's never off the camera. You just have a border on all your maps. And you kind of get a different feel. Your game feels different. So you're losing 3 tiles on the X's, and you're losing a tile or 2 on the Y's. So actually, depending on your game's resolution and the code you use, you can get away with something like that, where you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You have 5. Give yourself 1, 2, 3, 4. Give yourself 5 on the X's, and maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 on the Y's. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is our regular zoom. We would see all of the black. And this is our custom zoom. And we get to walk right off the camera, but we can still see the character. Maybe that's 1 tile too few on the X and 1 too few on the Y as well. But if you don't want to show the black bars, you could do that. Kind of don't like putting the character, like this is perfect right here. It would get tricky, but I think giving your camera a zoom, increasing your frame rate, can fix a lot of your other issues. And it kind of looks cool. Let's play around with the numbers a little bit. Let's do a 3 zoom and see if it affects that at all. Yep. The more you zoom in, the more of a border you're going to need. Hello. Goodbye. She's still looking you. She's still looking at you. Guys, she's lurking. Those eyes. Those eyes are lurking. She sees you. Yep, the more zoom, the more border. And like you basically figure out the zoom you want for the majority of your game, and you just build your maps. Like if you conceptualize this at the beginning of the game, or the beginning of your project, you can even simplify your art style. Let's do a minor, like a very little zoom. If we change this zoom to 1.5, it would be a lot easier of a transition for players, and you would need less of a border. That's a very minor zoom, just a 50% zoom. And what did we give 5? So we can actually give 4 on the X's and 1, 3. 4 on the X's, 3 on the Y's, depending on the zoom. And you could even pick a specific, like, zoom 1.68, and then it, like, looks perfect. It lines up perfectly. Or we can rewrite the zoom equation so that it updates the right way instead of just this. Graphics.boxWidth divided by 2 plus the value of the X location of the player and the Y location of the player. Anybody have an idea on how to improve that? That's not the best zoom equation, but it is an idea, just something to play with. Cool. So Jeff is going to stay on this map, and we're going to take this guy and put him on the test map too, and as well as the other one. The other dinosaur guy. We'll pull him off the test zoom map when we need. There we go. Alright, back to the crafting system. I don't know how I got sidetracked on that idea of zooms, but I'm glad we went there. That's really cool. Now, we don't have to worry about this parallel firing because now there's nothing in the game that's going to turn on the custom camera switch. So I could leave this in here and it won't affect anything at all until I turn on the custom camera switch. You don't think this method will work because each of your maps have different sizes? Maybe, but the thing is we're using the box width and the box height. If you rewrite this variable x equals into something more cohesive and malleable for each map, it could work. Boro B, how are you doing? Oh, I'm just talking about using a player tracker and GameScreen.setZoom method to change the zoom on the game so that it looks a little bit different. Change like the style a little bit. Like, so here's the normal style. You'd walk around and it looks, you know, average, looks regular size of zoom and everything. But you can also change the zoom to zoom in a little bit. Question is, Drifty, do you want to go through the pain of doing it? Not necessarily, but what I do want to include are zooms for transfer events. So let's move on to something like that then. If I just wanted to do a simple zoom for a transfer event, it's a lot easier. I just need to know the X and Y location of the event itself and zoom into it and then also reset the zoom. So I could take this right here. I actually don't need this entire thing. All I need is a script call. I only need this. I wonder if .x and .y are defined. Like this event .x. There's a plugin that I used before that makes this very easy. Like, for example, on this zoom in for the village, it's a fade out event. If we watch the, let's just start the player at the beginning of the game, and you'll see when the player gets there how it works right now. And then if we wanted to add a zoom to it, we could. We do need a player, the starting placeholder. So if we watch the player when he walks in the door, he moves in and he it fades out, right? This is a little thing that Olivia showed me, how to make him just slowly fade. But we could further expand upon this little transfer event by making it so that the camera zooms in on the camera. And I just did a plugin command before to do that, but we could do it with a script call. Here's where the player starts to disappear. But at the beginning of this, when the door opens, or even before that, we can do a script call. And we can set the zoom, or we can do a start zoom. Matter of fact, we should actually do a scroll into it. Start zoom. Start zoom, and all we have to do is add a duration, let's say over 10 frames or 15 frames. And we'll zoom in like maybe 3 or 4x. We'll zoom in 4 times the magnification over 15 frames. So very quick zoom in to the door. But we need to define X and Y. So when the player is walking through this door, this is event number 46. So maybe we can call this event .x if that's defined. Can we call this event, I wonder? See what's going on with Foobar. What you doing, Foobar? There we go. Let's define our variables. Variable x equals, over here I see $game map.event. And then we would use event ID, and this is event ID 46. Can we say .x? Like in GameMaker Studio 2, you could do this. You can reference this event's x location. Does .x work as a method? And does it return the value? Maybe not. It might crash. That's fine. I just want to know. Event 46.y. Because if this does work, then we'll just say zoom in to this event's x and y. And if we wanted to make this more copy-pastable, is there a way we can even specify this event from a script call? I don't know. Instead of just event 46. Well, let's try again and see what it says when it crashes inevitably. X is not defined is probably what I'm expecting. Thank you, Doc. I did. Everything is good. So if we walk in, whoa, it did do something, right? It zoomed in to the wrong spot. So this event.x is not the right code. It's not crashing though. Is it giving me errors? Is it going to spit any errors? Is it going to spit any errors? No, it doesn't spit any errors, huh? So .x is working? Game map.event 46.x. Skepsis D says use this gameplayer.screenx screen y. Ah, screen x screen y, not map x map y. The screen x, not map x, screen x. Skepsis, you little genius. You little genius, you. You use the screen X method and the screen Y method. Why were we using map X and map Y? Because of the lack of coffee. That's what it is. It's definitely not because I'm a moron. It's just lack of coffee. Snuh. Here we go. Let's see if it works. Hey, look at that zoom. Boy, look at that zoom. Look at that zoom in. Look at that zoom in. Look at that zoom out. What is it? I research. Right? Or I have people who research. More like, need more black energy. No, energy drinks the devil. I used to drink a lot of Red Bull. I don't do that anymore. Coffee is as hardcore as I get. I don't drink alcohol anymore either. I quit vaping even. Man, I'm just an old fogey now. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't vape. Heartless! No, you! I love it! I love the zoom! The zoom is great. I'm gonna leave it. In fact, I'm going to add it to more transfers. Let's take this really, really cool, simple line of code and put it here. And let's just paste it here. And then we just go here. Yeah. Edit. Like so. Bada bing, bada boom, hey, got him. We got him, yo. Quick little zoom, hey, we got him. We got him, coach. So let's go ahead and propagate this code in the places that it should be. Two and a half zoom over 40 frames. Let's make it quicker though. Let's make it 30 frames and let's give it a triple zoom. Let's see the difference. Yeah, I like the quicker, more in-depth zoom. So I love the code. We're going to use it, but we're going to just make it more zoomy by setting it to the triple zoom, and quicker by saying only 30 frames, not 40. So for those of you who want this code, very easy. It's in the thingy, $GameScreen.start zoom, and we're going to use GamePlayer Screen X and Screen Y, and then I like 330, but you can use whatever numbers you want here. This second number is how long it takes for the zoom to finish, and the first number right here is the magnification. Yeah. Uh-huh. Alright. Yeah. Uh-huh. Alright. There we go. We're just gonna copy paste it on all our transfers because this is what you do. This is what you do. So inevitably, when I want to change it, I have to change it everywhere. I have an idea. I have an idea. This is the wrong way to do it. It's very good, but what we should be doing is creating a common event called transfer zoom. Okay? And in here, we paste this. And then, on all these transfer events, we don't do a plugin command or a script call right there. We do a common event. We call a common event transfer zoom. This way, if we decide we want to change it to be 4x zoom or take 20 frames, we just change it once and then all of them are changed. So we copy this common event to all of the thingies. And plus it's clear and more readable, right? What's the script call at the beginning? If you're just very basic, getting into RPG Maker, you don't know what all that is. If you see common event transfer zoom, it's it's to zoom the camera for when you transfer. Very, very understandable, easily readable to somebody else if you're trying to show your stuff to somebody. Transfer event zoom. And what is that? It's a common event. Oh, well, how do we see common events? Right here in the database. Boy! Let's update that. Not there. We do the transfer zoom right before we run the transfer. Right before we run the transfer. We may need to set up our controller events. Does it reset the camera? Upon entering an area, does it reset the zoom? It does though. It does. When you switch from one map to another, it must call .initialize or .clear, like automatically upon switching scenes, to get rid of the zoom, right, and set it back to its default values. So we zoom, and it would be that way, but when we transfer, our auto run's happening here. So it'll work between these other events as well. Right above the transfer event, What lighting system am I using? I am using Terax lighting. I really like Terax. Zooming to chest, that would be a good idea too. But the problem with that is you also have to reset your zoom. So you just do one more line, right? Don't forget to reset your zoom, Skepsis, because if you're not changing maps, you're just picking up a chest. It's not going to call .initialize or .clear. You still have to put it in your transfers Omni, right? But if you decide you want to change how fast the zoom is or how much it zooms, all you have to do is go to here and change it here instead of on every transfer event. That's why we did it this way with the common event. I'm going to get this for all my transfer events. And then that's going to do it for the stream, guys. You're so awesome. Thank you for coming to the stream. Everybody who's interacting and helping, I really appreciate it. I love you guys so much. You guys make my day much better. You help me work on my project. And by trying to teach you guys, I learned so much. And I really appreciate the experience. If you guys like this kind of content, please consider giving the video a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more stuff like this. You can follow me on Twitter. I am at DriftwoodGaming. If you'd like to support what I do, I have a Patreon page. It is patreon.com/DriftwoodGaming. There are tiers there. Everything is appreciated. Thank you guys so much for that. If you want to follow me on twitch.tv, I'm there, /DriftwoodGaming. And all the other stuff. If you want to come hang out before and after live streams, we have a Discord. And the link is in the description below where you can come to the Discord and hang out and share your stuff, promote your stuff. It's really, really cool. You are able to try to, you know, promote. It's cool to do your promotions there. There's a channel for it called Self-Promo. And go ahead and put your stuff in there. And let people know what you've been up to. Sorry, I'm trying to get these transfer events done. The zooming, there's the transfer when you say leave. Before the transfer. Run the transfer, and the transfer. 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 Also, if we want to remove the transfer, all we have to do is clear the common event, and we don't actually have to go in and delete all these. We can always get rid of the zoom just by making the common event that it calls do nothing. So by using a common event to do the script call, it gives us a lot of control, and it makes it so that if we change our mind halfway through, we don't want the zoom, we can take it out real quick, and we don't have to go backtrack and spend the time that we're spending now like this again. Obviously that will make the code very dirty, or the event dirty, but it saves us time if we need to do that. I plan on keeping the zoom, I like it. I may change the frames that it takes to do the transfer, and or the actual zoom magnification number. But in the instance that I do that, it's very simple. I just edit the comment event, and they all change. So easy peasy. Thank you again, Skepsis, for doing the research while I bumble around. But once again, my curiosity, which was originally just a lack of productivity, has resulted in a minor quality of life change to the project, which is sort of a consistent thing that happens. So, was it a waste of time? Absolutely not. I consider this a success. We made our events, our game a little bit more polished. Just a little bit. One little thing. It's not about doing massive things. I think it's more about making a lot of little changes that make the game feel fun as a whole. And different. Being different is also good. And I think we're almost done with that. We have to do all of them on this map too. Oh boy. Oh boy. I think we're going to have to end it right there. We will call the zooms. You know what? We'll finish this map when we do the transfer zoom. It's easy. It's all here. It's all here. Zoom out of it. And if we miss one, no big deal. Maybe we'll find it while beta testing. Or as some people say it, beta testing. Nope. There we go. Got him. We got him, coach. Don't want to forget about these transfer events. This is not even going to the right spot. Where is this one going? Map 1. No. This has got to go to the underground somewhere. The graveyard's not completely linked correctly yet. Not at all. Let's put it here. QOL. Almost. Almost there. I think that there's one more little sneaky one. It's fine. Oh, this isn't going to the right spot either. Map 01. It's got to go to the underground. Where does it go, though? Oh, gosh. I don't know where I want to link these together. Let's put it here. Same issue with this one. I'll have to close some loose ends. Wow, you don't realize how many transfer events you use in your game until you have to go through and do something like this. You're like, wow. What is the most common event in a game? It depends. If it's a visual novel RPG, show text, most common. But if it's not, it's a transfer event. It would be cool if you can view analytics on your project. If you had like somewhere on like game or like another thing called analytics before help, and you can just click on it and then it would see like number of events in the entire project, number of show text, number of script calls, number of, you know, I don't know how that would help you, but maybe it would, just looking at the game and maybe it'll help you know who to employ if you wanted to go to the next level, right? Like, well, it looks like we have a lot of show text. Maybe we should pay a writer to do something for us. We're almost done with this. We haven't fully linked the Under the Underground yet, which is a beautiful map. It's a fantastic map. I love it. It's still not linked right. I don't know where or how I want to use it yet. So it still goes to map 1. It's not linked up correctly, but we will add it. It's a beautiful map. Great job. Thank you again. Big shout out to Christ History for all of the maps that she's brought to us. It's fantastic work. Guys, thank you so much for joining the live stream. I am over quite a bit. This is like a 2.5-hour live stream. Catch me Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to noon Eastern Standard Time, where I live stream mostly game development stuff, but every now and then there'll be first impressions and just playing games and other stuff. And we have hypothetical discussions and other malarkey. I really appreciate each and every one of you for coming and hanging out. There's a link in the description below. If you don't want this to end, you want to come hang out on Discord, it's down there. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye. Oh, we forgot something. Bye, guys.